Good afternoon, students. Welcome back to chemistry class. Today we are going to revise the lesson carbon and its compounds. So before the revision, let us discuss a few questions and answers. First question, how would you distinguish experimentally between an alcohol and a carboxylic acid? So you have learned already what is the color change of litmus paper in acidic and basic solutions. An acid turns the blue litmus into red. And in basic solution, the red color of the litmus is changed into blue. If it is a neutral solution, there is no color change for the litmus paper. So this can be used to test, to distinguish between an alcohol and a carboxylic acid. So the first test, dip a strip of blue litmus separately in both alcohol and carboxylic acid taken in two test tubes. The color changes to red in the tube containing carboxylic acid. What is the reason? Because carboxylic acid is acidic and the color does not change in the tube containing alcohol. The reason? Alcohols are neutral. So, if you are dipping the blue litmus paper into test tube, if the color changes, that test tube contains carboxylic acid. If the color does not change, the test tube contains alcohol. This is one of the tests. Another one you have learnt already, carboxylic acid when react with carbonates or hydrogen carbonate, carbon dioxide gas is liberated. So this test can be used to distinguish between alcohol and carboxylic acid because alcohol does not give such a reaction. So add a small amount of solid sodium hydrogen carbonate NaHCO3 or we can use sodium carbonate also, Na2CO3 also can be used for this test in both the test tubes. A brisk effervescence of CO2 gas is noticed in the tube containing carboxylic acid and not in the tube containing alcohol. What is meant by this brisk effervescence? That we can see a lot of bubbles are formed when the sodium hydrogen carbonate is added to the test tube containing carboxylic acid. That is called the brisk effervescence. Why? Because of the formation of carbon dioxide gas. Such a reaction does not take place in the case of alcohol. So these are the two reactions we can use to distinguish between alcohol and a carboxylic acid. Next question. Explain the formation of scum when hard water is treated with soap. So you know soap is sodium or potassium salt of higher carboxylic acids or higher fatty acids. And hard water contains calcium and magnesium ions. So when soap is mixed with hard water, what happens? The corresponding, instead of the sodium salt of higher fatty acid, the corresponding calcium or magnesium salts are formed. They are insoluble. So they get precipitated. These precipitates are called scum. Next question. A mixture of oxygen and ethane is burned for welding. Can you tell why a mixture of ethane and air is not used? So we need a high temperature for welding. But when ethane is burnt in air, it undergoes incomplete combustion and releases a lot of smoke and the temperature is also not very high. So high temperature is required for welding when ethane is burnt in air because air contains less percentage of oxygen. More what gas is present in air? Nitrogen gas. So nitrogen is not a supporter of combustion. So because of this, incomplete combustion takes place and the temperature is not very high. In order to ensure complete oxidation and to obtain high temperature needed for welding, a mixture of ethane and oxygen is used. Next question. Which of the following hydrocarbons undergo addition reactions? C2H6, C3H8, C3H6, C2H2 and CH4. How to find out this? You know, addition reaction, which type of hydrocarbons undergo addition reaction? Unsaturated hydrocarbon. Saturated hydrocarbons do not undergo addition reaction. So from the given hydrocarbons, we have to find out which is saturated and which is unsaturated. You know, alkanes are saturated. They have the general formula CnH2n plus 2. Alkenes and alkynes are unsaturated with general formula. Alkenes have CnH2n and alkynes have CnH2n minus 2. So how to find out this? Which is alkane, alkene and alkyne? We have to compare with their formula, molecular formula with the general formula. For example, C2H6. So here the number of carbon atom is 2. Number of hydrogen atom 6. So that number of hydrogen atom is 2n plus 2 means that is an alkane. 2n means alkene. 2n minus 2 means alkyne. Here number of carbon atom is 2. N is 2. So hydrogen number is 2 into 2 plus 2. That means 2n plus 2. So that is an alkane. It is saturated. Same way we can find out other hydrocarbons also. C3H8, that also saturated one, alkane. C3, N is 3, H is 8. So 2 into 3 plus 2, that also alkane. What about C3H6? N is 3, H is 6. That means 2 into 3, 2n formula. That is alkene, unsaturated. C2H2, N is 2, H is 2 into 2 minus 2. That is 2n minus 2 formula. That is an alkyne. It is unsaturated. And CH4, carbon number of carbon atom is 1, N is 1. So H is 2 into 1 plus 2. That is alkane. So here C2H6, C3H8 and CH4 are alkanes. They are saturated. They do not undergo addition reaction. C3H6, that is an alkene with a double bond, and C2H2 is an alkyne with a triple bond. So they both undergo addition reactions. You can refer this answer in your MCC guidebook. Next, we'll discuss what are the important topics we have discussed in this lesson. First one, covalent bond. What is the definition of a covalent bond? The chemical bond formed by sharing of electrons between the atoms. So we have learned examples also how the covalent bond is formed in H2 molecule, O2, N2, NH3, that means ammonia, H2O, that is water, and CH4, that is a methane molecules. How the sharing of electron takes place, how we can the bond formation diagrammatically, how we can represent the electron dot structure, all this we have learned. Next, carbon atoms does not form C4 minus anion and C4 minus cation. What is the reason? You know, carbon take part in covalent bond formation. There is no ionic bond. What is the reason for this? Why it is not forming C4 minus anion or C4 plus cation? So why carbon is not forming C4 minus anion? If it is forming C4 minus anion, what should happen? It should accept or receive 4 more electrons. But it is difficult for the nucleus with 6 protons to hold on to 10 electrons. When it is receiving 4 more electrons, there will be totally 10 electrons. So it is difficult for the nucleus to hold 10 more electrons because nucleus charge is only 6. So carbon do not receive 4 electrons to form C4 minus anions. Why it is not forming C4 plus cations? Because by removing electrons only cations are formed. To remove 4 electrons from carbon atom, a large amount of energy is required. Leaving with 6 protons, only with 2 neutrons. 6 protons in the nucleus and only 2 electrons. If 4 carbon atoms are removed from the carbon, there will be only 2 electrons. So such a species, it is very difficult. That means lot of energy. So a lot of energy is required to remove the 4 electrons from the carbon atom. So C4 plus cations also cannot be formed. That's the reason it forms covalent bond by sharing the electrons between the atoms. Next we learn allotropes of carbon. What is meant by allotropy? The different forms of same elements having same chemical property but different physical properties. So we have learnt in this lesson the allotropes of carbon, diamond, graphite and fullerene. Then what is the structure of diamond? What is the structure of graphite also we have learned. Diamond is having a three-dimensional rigid structure, and graphite structure is hexagonal and it is the same plane. So because of this difference in structure between diamond and graphite only, they have the different properties. You know, diamond is hard and graphite is soft. And their melting point, boiling point, all these are different because of the difference in structures between them. Next we learn the versatile nature of carbon. In that we have learned the two properties of carbon which lead to the huge number of carbon compounds we see around us. So we know most of the substances what we are using in our daily life is carbon compounds. And what is the reason for this? Why carbon is forming such a large number of compounds? There are two reasons. One is catenation, the other one is tetravalency. Tetravalency means you know carbon's valency is 4. What is the reason also you know? Catenation means carbon form bond with other carbon atom to form large molecules. That is called catenation. This can be in 3 ways. One can be carbon-carbon bond can be in a straight chain, and it can be a branched chain. That means through the straight chain 1 or 2 branches can be there, and it can be in a closed structure also. Next we learn what are saturated and unsaturated carbon compounds. The carbon compounds in which only single bonds are present between the carbon atoms, they are called saturated carbon compounds. If there are say, double bond or triple bond, at least one double bond or triple bond are present in the carbon atom, in between the carbon atoms in a carbon compound, they are called unsaturated carbon compounds. And one more thing, saturated carbon compounds are less reactive, unsaturated ones are more reactive. And saturated ones undergo substitution reaction mostly, unsaturated one undergo addition reaction mostly. Then we learn alkanes, alkenes, alkynes, cycloalkanes, etc. Their general formula, as we have discussed, alkanes general formula is CnH2n plus 2, where N is the number of carbon atom. Alkenes CnH2n, alkynes CnH2n minus 2, and cycloalkanes having a ring structure or a closed structure with the formula CnH2n. And alkanes and alkenes are alkanes are saturated, alkenes and alkynes are unsaturated. And how to draw the structures of these alkanes, alkenes and cycloalkanes we learn, and how to draw the electron dot structure. Structure how to draw? You have to count number of carbon atom according to the name. You have to draw the number of carbon atom. Alkane means all the bonds are single bonds. And remember, there are 4 valency. For each carbon has 4 valency. That also you remember. Alkenes, one double bond is present in the atom. Alkynes means one triple bond should be there in the atom. Cycloalkane means that should be a closed structure. So based on that, different structures how to draw we have discussed in the previous videos. And how to draw electrons dot structure, around each atom draw circles, and if single bond is present between the atoms you have to show 2 electrons there. Double bond means 4 electrons you have to show, that means 2 pairs. Triple bond means you have to show 6 electrons. Next we learn the structure of benzene. Benzene having the formula C6H12. So how to draw its structure also we have learned. Then we learn isomerism, its definition. What is isomerism and what are isomers? Isomers are the carbon compounds or organic compounds having same molecular formula but different structural formula or different structures. And we have learned their examples also. If example is asked, Along with the name, you have to draw the structures also. For example, of isomers, butane, N-butane and isobutane. And you have to draw both the structures. And if it is pentane, N-pentane, isopentane, neopentane, 3 structures also you have to draw. Then we learn functional groups. Along with that, some classes of carbon compounds we have learned. The classes are haloalkanes, that means chloro or bromoalkanes with the functional group Cl or Br. Alcohol, another class of organic compound, alcohol, which has the functional group OH. Then aldehyde, functional group is CHO, C double bond O, single bond H. Ketone has the functional group C double bond O, CO. Carboxylic acid has the functional group COOH, C double bond O, single bond OH. And how to draw the structures of these compounds we have learned. Then how to name them, nomenclature of these compounds. So to draw the structures, first you have to remember, if there are 1 carbon, the corresponding alkane is methane, 2 carbon atoms, ethane, 3 propane, 4 butane, then 5 pentane, 6 hexane. So from the name you can understand, from the name of the alkane you can give the name for alcohol, aldehyde, ketones, etc. So how to give correspond in a given alcohol or aldehyde, how to name these compounds, count the number of carbon atom, give the corresponding alkene name. If it is an alcohol, the E is replaced by Al, sorry, Ol. For alcohol, E is replaced by Ol. Methanol, ethanol, propanol, etc. Aldehyde means E is replaced by Al. If it has aldehyde having 3 carbon atom, it is propanol. Aldehyde having 4 carbon atom, butanol, etc. Ketone means you have to replace by ONE. Ketone with 5 carbon atoms, that is pentanone. Carboxylic acid, you have to replace the E by oic acid. So the carboxylic acid having 2 carbon atom, what is the name? Ethanoic acid, etc. If name is given, how to draw the structures? According to the name, you draw the carbon chain. For example, ethanol means 2 carbon atom you have to draw. Then you have to make aldehyde, ketone and carboxylic acid. There are carbon atoms are present in the functional group also. So including that you have to count the numbers. So make 1 carbon atom as a functional group. If aldehyde, ketone or carboxylic acid, the other carbon atom you have to satisfy the valencies with hydrogen atoms. If it is alcohol or chloro or bromo alkanes, first you draw the carbon chain. To that you attach the alcohol functional group or chloro or bromo. Because totally there should be same number of carbon atom according to the name. So if it is chloro bromo alkane, you have to give the prefix before the alkane name. You have to give chloro or bromo. For example, chlorobutane, bromopentane, etc. So we are discussing the previous videos. If you have any doubt, watch the previous videos. Then we have learned what is homologous series. So homologous series are the class of organic compounds in which the successive members differ by a CH2 group or 14 unit of mass, and all the members are having the same general formula. We can represent all the members with the same general formula, and all the members have the same functional group. They have the same chemical properties, and the successive member, and there will be a regular gradation in the physical properties. These are the properties of a homologous series. Next, we learn the chemical properties of carbon compound. That means some reactions. Combustion, reaction with oxygen. How it burns in air, that is a combustion reaction. So how saturated and unsaturated undergo combustion reaction. How it is a sooty flame or a blue flame. How it is produced, all this we have discussed. And we learned oxidation. In the oxidation we have learned alcohol undergo oxidation in presence of alkaline potassium permanganate or acidified potassium dichromate. We are getting corresponding acids, carboxylic acid. For example, ethanol undergo oxidation to form ethanoic acid in presence of alkaline. Oxidation is done using the oxidizing agents. What are the oxidizing agents we are using here? Alkaline potassium permanganate KMnO4 or acidified potassium dichromate K2Cr2O7. Next we learn the addition reaction. That means addition of, especially we have learned the addition of hydrogen to the unsaturated compound to make it a saturated one. What is the industrial importance of this reaction? Hydrogenation of oils. The unsaturated oils are converted to saturated fats. When this reaction is done in presence of a catalyst, nickel or palladium or platinum. So what is the importance of industrial importance also we have learned. Then we learned the substitution reaction. So one element is substituted by another one. For example, alkanes, hydrogen is replaced by chlorine. This reaction is carried out in the presence of sunlight. We have learned how methane undergoes substitution reaction when it reacts with chlorine. The stepwise reaction we have learned. Next we learn some important carbon compounds in this lesson, ethanol and ethanoic acid. We learn the properties of ethanol. We learn the reactions. Two reactions we learn for ethanol. Ethanol, how it reacts with sodium and how it reacts to give unsaturated hydrocarbon. When it reacts with sodium, we are getting two products, sodium ethoxide and hydrogen gas. And when it is reacting with concentrated sulfuric acid, we are getting ethene, an unsaturated hydrocarbon. Here, what is the role of concentrated sulfuric acid? It is acting as a dehydrating agent, removing water from the alcohol. Next, we learn the properties of ethanoic acid. What is its common name? Why it is called glacial acetic acid? All this we have learned. Then we learn the reactions of ethanoic acid. Three reactions we learn: esterification, reaction with a base, and reaction with carbonates and hydrogen carbonates. Esterification reaction means ethanoic acid when react with ethanol, an acid and an alcohol reacts. We are getting ester, another class of organic compound called ester and water. And the opposite of the reverse of esterification reaction is called saponification. When ester is reacted with an an alkali or base, we are getting sodium salt of the carboxylic acid and ethanol. The sodium salt of carboxylic acid is called soap. So it is used in the preparation of soap. So the reaction is called saponification. Then we learn how ethanoic acid react with a base like sodium hydroxide. We are getting sodium salt of the ethanoic acid and water. The sodium salt of ethanoic acid is called sodium ethanoate or sodium acetate. Then we learn how this ethanoic acid react with carbonate, that means sodium carbonates or sodium hydrogen carbonate. Both the reaction we are getting the products sodium salt of the ethanoic acid, carbon dioxide and water. The sodium salt of ethanoic acid is called sodium acetate or sodium ethanoate. Then we learn soaps and detergents. How the soaps or detergents cleanse. The cleansing action of soaps and detergents we learn. In that we learn the micelle formation, etc. And why the soap is not cleaning well in hard water, the reason we learn. Why the detergents cleanse well in hard water also. Both soft water and hard water detergents can cleanse well. What's the reason also we have learned. So tomorrow you will have a class test of this lesson. Prepare well. Refer the textbook and learn all the question answers, and refer the classwork also, refer the guidebook also. Classwork, very few question answers are given. Don't refer only the classworks. Guidebook also you have to refer. After reading the textbook thoroughly, you can, for different type of questions, you can refer the guidebook also. Prepare well and write the test. All the best, children. Thank you, children.